I said, it is my wish that we finish this meeting by before 4. Huh? But I can see the issues are many. So maybe the auditor can guide us. Auditor, you can give us your brief stating how many issues covered and how many have been addressed. And then you can say something about this report, which can make us make progress.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. The report of 2024-2025 was a qualified opinion. The number of issues were 51. Based on the response from the board, the issues that were addressed based on our verification are 4, with outstanding issues not well addressed 47. Maybe based on the time that you have given us. There are some issues which are related, or rather interrelated. Maybe with this.
I notice the issues which are interrelated. For example, we have so many issues around training and travel. Those you can combine. And then we have expenditure issues, and then we have the legal issue, which I want us to start with. There was a ruling by the High Court, and the legal officer, you should be on standby to help us on that. So I think there are about 3 or 4 categories of issues, so which we can combine all at once so that we save on time. Is that? It's it. Proceed, auditor, to guide us.
Thank you, Chair. The way I had classified, maybe we can do it with your guidance. In case it is the issue of unsupported documents, we can do one. If it is the issue of inaccuracies, we can do one. In case to do with the legal and also misclassification, so that at least we can cover wholesomely, based on, although it will depend on your guidance.
I think we need to start with the legal issues, because that will tell us whether we are properly seized of the matter. So there was somewhere there was an issue.
Thank you. We go to the auditor's report on page 15. Non-conformity with the provision of section page 15, that is under lawfulness. The report on lawfulness and effectiveness in the use.
Auditor, start by telling us how many issues have been addressed, okay. And then
Okay. Let me refer to the briefs. Sorry, I think then. The brief is under lawfulness is on number 9 or page 28. As a
Mine is
conformity with the provision of Nairobi City County Alcoholic Drink and Licensing Act.
why are you starting with that?
I have just sampled based on the way you say that legal.
No, the one I was referring to is a reference to the court ruling. The reference to which?
Yeah. Chair, this one on non-conformity is very simple.
Yeah.
The Act talks about the CC for trade. We don't have a CC for trade. We recreated the sector to be called business and hustler opportunities. So it's just the ministries are redesignated. The law should say the CCM for the part-time being in charge of trade refers to an executive order.
Governor, do you have another? You have the CC for trade and you have the CC for business hustler opportunity. So it's the one for trade.
The CC for business is the one for trade.
Okay.
I think maybe you look at paragraph 24.
From there now,
paragraph 24.
Yes.
I just want to be sure that we are properly seized of the matter because of the ruling of the court. It's on the auditor's brief, page 50. So, auditor, you can proceed.
Thank you. The High Court ruling in case number, as it is indicated, nullified the legal establishment of Nairobi City County Alcoholic Drink and Licensing Board and directed the freezing of its bank account. Audit review reviewed that the board continued to transact after the court directive, and the payment of Kenya shillings 1,298,384 was made to the supplier on 20th June 2025 from the board account. The payment was made to the same supplier previously cited for irregularities in the international procurement processes undertaken during the year audit review. In the circumstances, the continued execution of transactions after the court ruling exposes the county government to legal and financial risk, including the potential contempt of court proceedings.
Okay, Governor, your response?
I'm trying to find it. I can't see.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Please allow my CC to answer that question. She's showing me things I can't see.
Thank you, Excellency. And thank you, Chair and honorable members. So following the High Court ruling, this is page 35. So the High Court of Kenya issued freezing of any withdrawals from the Nairobi County Alcohol Drinks Control Fund. The matter was taken up to the Court of Appeal and an order was therefore issued staying the execution of judgment delivered on 6th of March. The transactions were done after the Court of Appeal ruled on stay orders on 28th of May as attached. And consequently, in November of 2027, the Court of Appeal actually made a ruling in our favor. So the transactions that are in question were after the stay of the execution, which was given on 28th of May. So we have Annex 22. We have the respective correspondence on the court rulings. And among them is a letter to the legal department of the bank confirming that the Court of Appeal had given us a favorable stay to unfreeze the account. And consequently, we also have the ruling of 7th of November, which actually confirmed that from the Court of Appeal. Thank you.
Auditor, what's your comment?
Or therefore the reference is different, not unless we are reviewing the response, which is different. Because whatever you have cited in your response that you submitted, the annexure 35 is different. So
yes, Chair, maybe to clarify, because the two matters are related, the annexes on both are the same. But 22 is one that precedes 35 and it has all the documents.
22 is the one which has the stay, and the transactions were done after a stay was issued by the Court of Appeal. Is it Court of Appeal?
Yes.
Yeah, Gatembo, Jamila Mohammed, and Korir JJA, Civil Appeal. And then after that, there's a correspondence from our advocate, Dan Okach, to the Cooperative Bank, making them aware that the order has been lifted so that they can continue transacting.
Meanwhile, as the auditor is trying to figure out our legal officer, what's your comment on this matter?
Chair, the annexures that have been attached support the position that the officer through the governor has pointed out, because there's a decree in which it had been ordered that the entire section 43 of the Nairobi County Alcoholic Drinks Control and Licensing Act that establishes the Nairobi County Alcoholic Drinks Control Fund is unconstitutional and void, and an order issued freezing any withdrawals from the Nairobi County Alcoholic Drinks Control Fund bank account with the details therein until legally and constitutionally compliant public fund is established in conformity with Article 207, and then some orders on costs. And then they've also attached a ruling of the Court of Appeal in civil application number E216 of 2025, of which they got stay orders of the judgment of the court in petition number E222 of 2023, which means that what the High Court had ruled, in a sense, is not implementable. So you go back to the status quo until the substantive hearing of the substantive appeal. So I don't know if they can give us an indication whether the appeal has been substantively heard and final orders given, or what status.
The auditor is ready to proceed, auditor, before I go back to the county.
I think the issue is that this information was not provided at the time of the audit, and I think out of now the new development, we can say it has been, it ought not to have been there had the information been provided.
So maybe the CEC, you can tell us why was the information not provided through the government?
Tell us.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Excellency. I want to give it to the accountant and the director just to confirm, because they were the direct contact with the auditors.
Thank you, Chairman. We can confirm that we did provide all these documents to the auditors at the time of audit. We did provide.
Your auditor is saying you didn't provide. So who is saying the truth?
I think it's good, maybe because I have my laptop, we scan all this document. However, we would not have raised it if it was provided, because, during the meeting, we do exit meeting, we do the ML, the draft audit report. So, by the time it reached here, it's good to just agree you are not provided, however, you have provided now. Because I met several, even with the accountant, who is there.
Because as a result of your non-provision of the document, auditor has raised 2 queries that are all related to that matter. If you look at paragraph 12, he has raised the issue of winding up of the fund and the board, and is related to the ruling, that ruling of the court.
This is a very substantive issue that unless documentation got lost somewhere, because the biggest issue we're dealing with on the alcoholic drinks and licensing board was the issue of the court. The accounts had been frozen, they are not transacting, you had all these members who are not being paid, looking for different arrangements. And Chair, normally, during the audit period, I myself chair the first meeting with all the chief officers and CCs. And whenever there are deadlines, I am the one who pushes them to respond. We normally have a group. And I said the following chief officers or directors have not yet responded, and they have to bring the response through my office. And I don't remember them not having done that. And I'm just asking, I've asked my chief officer to look for when I issued that instruction. I think September or around that time. Because we take audit very seriously. And that is why, for instance, these alcoholic drinks, by the way, we should have started with that. When I became governor, they used to get disclaimer of opinion. It was terrible. So the fact they've moved from that to past, I think you jumped advanced. Did you get advanced last year?
No.
To qualified shows that there's been do you remember the time I came here and I said, Unyorosha Awatu, because at that time I was not the governor and it was such a mess. So on this one, I think it's a clear issue. We can refresh it. And I think this meeting also is part of this audit process, because there's clearly stay orders in court. And then to go further, Chair, what the court nullified then was the fund, because the law is still there. Of course, the case is going on. And we now reestablish the fund. The funds expire after a number of years. We're able to reestablish a fund. We gazetted the regulations on 19th of December. And the regulations, even as the assembly is looking at them, is neither here nor there, because once that delegated legislative power, once you have gazetted and within 14 days there is no amendment or report, then they stand. So as we are today, we have fully well constituted fund and a board. It's just now that some members whose term was 3 years from 16th of March 2023 has expiring next week. And so I am going to appoint to see who I need to reappoint and who I would need to replace. Chair.
Okay, what we wanted to satisfy ourselves is if there's any legal hurdle to our work. But now that
Always now.
now that it has been clarified that the matter in court was resolved, I think now we are properly seized to the matter. I think the auditor had previously asked you that I think we are going, because of time, we are going to look at issues in categories. What I would like you to do is pick up the issues under travel and events. If you can help us, you just look at each query under travel and events, summarize for us without reading, and then I will give the governor the chance to respond. There are so many training, travels, all those. So you can summarize one by one, and then governor can respond to that.
I think if I just go through the issue to do the travel, most of them were, what was lacking is supporting documentations, which maybe we can go, mainly that's the issue to do with the supporting documentation. And few cases, authority, that it revolved around that the supporting documentation where you cannot be able to tie to corroborate the issue of the travel documents vis-a-vis the payment in terms of the supporting, such that we were not able to tie based on also the invitations, and in some cases more traveled than the invited. I think that's for summary, because there are quite a number. If you look at it, at that.
Auditor, let me help you. We have the issue
because there are quite a number, maybe just answer.
Yeah, just the issues on travel.
If you go to number
training
6
and events.
If you go to number 6, let's take example on page 15 of our briefs.
Yes.
There is one paragraph on irregular payment of subsistence travel allowance. And if I take example, one of the key points which you are looking at, it is the issue to do with the supporting warranty, the unsupported warrants, the original documentation. Then let's go to the other one, is number 7.1, or now on page 17, is unauthorized domestic travel, whereby we noted payment vouchers amounting to 28 million presented for audit, reviewed that the voucher were not authorized by AIE holder. That is another one, maybe in summary. 7.2 is inflated participant numbers and unsupported expenditure. In this regard, the authority dated November 11 authorized allowance for 78 persons at a cost of 6.4 million. However, the list of attendance that had been authorized for 63. There were cases of also unsurrendered interest pertaining to the same. There was a case of page 2 at the qualification. On foreign travels, the amount of around 82 million in respect to the foreign travel in subsistence. However, we noted it ought to have been charged under the local travel. So in this case, maybe there was no budget within it. That's why it was charged there. That is 82 million. So out of which now the accuracy with regards to the same So I don't know how far, Chair, you want me to go.
Okay, I think members, you have the reports. We have a significant number of queries around travel, training, and events, which may be just to save on time. We ask the governor to respond.
Maybe the governor can maybe look at the one which is maybe might be material, or rather maybe to help you in terms of the allocating of the budget. You look at the qualification 3.2, paragraph 3.2, foreign travel and subsistence allowance.
Okay. What I can see in 3.2, Chair, is that there was a supplementary budget from the which created these three codes listed, totaling 84 million. The supplementary then provided how to that expenditure, meaning it was not overstated. That is an extra 5. Overtouched the entire supplementary. And normally supplementary is a very interesting auditor, because in the national government they do supplementary after the fact, as we normally do it, just before. But then they reorganize and then they rationalize afterwards. But that is the response, those supplementary that provided for it. Earlier, the amount was not enough. I agree. Chair, on the other issues around travel, I'll ask my CEC, still the CEC at that time, to just generally answer all these queries around travel, local, and I think it's local or foreign. Yeah.
Thank you, Excellency. And
you see now why we are asking the issue of travel. We are trying to link the travel to alcohol. What were they traveling to do? To test alcohol in other countries, or what was it?
Yeah, Chair, it's good to understand the essence of what this board does. Because more than just regulating this economic enterprise, which has restaurants, establishments, suppliers, manufacturers, etc., there's a lot of rehabilitation work they do. This board usually built the first public rehab for alcohol in the country, possibly, that we have in Makadara, Viwandani, that sees so many patients every day. In fact, I'd want them to build another one on the other side of town, because addiction has become a big problem within society. And so, just like the sports fund gets money from betting that is sports related, we're trying to see how we can further resource them, because all of these people who benefit from sale of alcohol and entertainment clubs, etc., are not contributing directly to mitigate the adverse effects of their business. So when they go there, they don't go to test the international brands to see if effective, reintegration into society, rehabilitation programs, how sports and such activities can be used to mitigate, because you'll never do away with this thing. It will always be there. It was launched by Jesus, and it is part of our society. But the Bible says everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Everything is permissible, but I will not be controlled by anything. The addiction is the problem. Psalms also say wine is a mocker and beer is a brawl. And so that is the theme around which I guide them in the interaction. We can't bury our head in the sand and assume that these things are not happening in society, but it has gone to a level even children, right now are engaging. And I would want even to expand their mandate to other drugs which have become prevalent in our society. If you look at the use of marijuana in Nairobi, it is almost like it is accepted. Even in a rally, I'm sure you've gone to rallies in Nairobi, and you can see a cloud of smoke billowing and people getting excited. It's become terrible. So the CEC can just really answer all those. Why do you travel? Who travels? Is it too much, and how it's authorized for that to happen? Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, and thank you, Chair. I can confirm that the travel and other activities, both local and international, is properly authorized. Of course, I know one of the things that the Auditor General picked is that the AIE holder and the accounting officer are the same. So I know there is that gap of, we are signing on one as a chief of, as the accounting officer and not as the other, but one, I think we explained that one signature suffices. So that's one. Number two, in terms of the travel, it's in the execution of the mandate of the board, which is provided for under section 1, the fund, under section 43, and now we have a new regulation which basically covers the same. So, what the fund shall be used for meeting the expenditure relating to what has been prescribed. Basically, what His Excellency the Governor has said, which also includes, execution of the mandate of the board, which is covered under section 5. To ensure implementation of the national and government policy, national and county policies, and so on and so forth. So we are in line with the provisions of the law and also the related regulations. Thank you.
So maybe while on that, there is this conference thing the MCS did in Mombasa, which auditors raised as a query. I think there was a committee on culture and community services. Was also that related to?
Yes, Chair, I can confirm that was related. We are currently repealing the law because the current act that we have is, a lot of things have evolved. So the Act of 2014, we are repealing it. We've had several, basically going through the process of repealing the law. The Culture Committee is on that oversights us. So we've had sessions to sensitize them, to discuss, to align, and so on and so forth. As part of the preparation of the repealing of the Act. So that is in line with the mandate of the board.
Yeah.
Yes, proceed.
Is the CEC telling us that the auditor did not appreciate that fact, that the committee, the MCS or that committee, the culture committee was handling a relevant law or amendments or creation, repealing? Is that the auditor did not get that kind of information?
Yeah, proceed.
We did not get that information as of then. Actually, our query is very clear. That no correspondences of the varying dates and the venue were presented for audit review, which is therefore not possible to confirm the authenticity and the existence of the retreat. So I think as at then, whatever we raised, we did not get that collaboration. That's why I started by saying.
My director says she gave. I think you should get now. When these things are given, they should take photos together. And because he's saying she provided, the other saying he didn't. It becomes he says and she says. I don't know how we deal with that. And I hope Baroda is because they know how much I push them to give responses for audit.
Mark, you can clarify.
Yeah, Chair, I just want to comment that in the course of audit, we have what is called an evidence tracking sheet, where we record every evidence that is given. And that sheet indicates that was not provided. So, Chair, we have evidence to prove that that information was not provided.
But who records on that sheet?
We record.
It is yourself. So I don't you have a sheet where when I present, I record it.
What is
Because it
important?
is still your opinion.
So-
As she says, she presented it and she can provide evidence of when she presented it.
So
Actually, it's our document that both sides sign to avoid the subjectivity of submission of evidence.
through the chair.
This is really just to improve, the relations, not just for Nairobi. It would be good if, the same way when you get something as a delivery note, but when evidence is requested and it is issued, both sides should be able to sign. So we don't come here after a year again and say, I sent it or I did send it. Yeah. Like earlier, Chair, you remember when we started.
Are you
The documents they said they didn't receive, I have shown you documents stamped received. So if I didn't have that document, you probably would not have believed me. You'd have believed the Auditor General because they're generally more honest people. But parents of people today said I'm honest. So let's improve this thing by having something that both sides sign on when you submit. Because I don't know why Rhoda would not submit that. When did you submit it? Maybe, Chair.
Auditor.
Chair, we should also comment that we also have what is called the exit meeting. And in that exit meeting, we have minutes. We also have the ML to have these questions. Maybe if this had been responded to and the ML is a written document, then it would have been clearly indicated that in response to the ML, we have provided this. So there, Chair, then with the ML not been responded to, we also issued a draft report. There was no response. If there had been response, Chair, then this issue would not have arisen. Chair.
Maybe through the chair also to add on to that. In most of the audit, we encourage the client when you are submitting, come with a register. That's what we do, you are register actually. So that we can sign. Either you issue the register or via email. In some cases, we even open a common email account where you can be able to make reference to avoid these altercation. So that is what that's what we do. Actually, through the governor, maybe in the audit of the executive, and that's why you did not find us asking so many. Actually, we had open email. Actually, that's for the executive. For this one, it's I think during the entry meeting when we had the exit, I think the RICA was not represented.
Yeah, because for
that is the issue.
And I don't remember seeing Rhoda at that meeting. For the executive, they do it at my office, and the auditor is actually across. Because I really emphasize on adherence to it myself. So maybe I'll rope in liquor, more, and Nairobi water, and even Green Nairobi going forward. That's a new entity we have, Chair. But thank you for the advice. I'll take that advice.
Senator Mboko.
No, I just wanted to say, Chair, maybe the officer who is arranging that he provided. You are the one to provide the proof if they say they never got it. So you cannot just say, I gave them. Give some evidence. But maybe Chair can proceed because it has been prosecuted.
Anyway, Chair, as the auditor, both Gashanga and the other auditor have indicated, there was this management letter. In their response, you should have said, we have provided A, B, C, D. So if you didn't, now it's
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Let me take the I saw everything else. I didn't see the big one. Let me take that, Chair.
So
I'll sit out on I'll do for them what I do for the rest of the executive.
Yeah, and there are penalties to non-submission of documents or late submission of documents. So the officers who are involved, there are offenses to it. In fact,
if they can't show the evidence, Chair, maybe in the spirit of Ramadan you can forgive them. But moving forward, I will use that same formula that I do with the executive Chair.
Yeah, does not subscribe to the Muslim faith, so maybe Lent or something.
But the clerk, I don't know. But Chair, I think
actually, Governor, the issues in this report are around two areas. One, not providing documents, and two, the auditor was questioning the expenditures, which in his own view are outside the mandate of the fund. You see, like those travel, local and foreign travel. If the documents were provided to indicate that indeed they were supporting the mandate of the fund, then the auditor would not have raised it as a query. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if they had that conversation, because now even the auditor says they understand the scope, of the fund, on a plain reading of it, you imagine the fund is just about liquor licensing. It is not. It is so broad in terms of society. We even do fashion shows, we do activations for the young people across the city. We support the football tournament, the Governor's Cup, to a great extent, the Nairobi Festival, which are all activities that, you bring young people, and while they're there, you speak to them about these issues. Like if you see the Nairobi Festival, the last one we had, we had almost 250,000 footfall at Uhuru Park. That is such a captive audience for them to, it's not just the concert, but there are many tents they go to, and you have a big stand telling them car sober, and don't drink and drive, and if you do this, and even including some of the suppliers like EABL, So I think that conversation is extremely important between our team and the auditor, even before they start to explain this fund is for this purpose. Because general payment of licenses and and our revenue without this law is just like how you'd pay for advertising or how you'd pay for business permit. But the reason we created a fund for this specific revenue stream, I say, or business activity, is because there are a lot of mitigating activities that need to be done beyond just licensing bars and alcoholic outlets. You need to give back to society to mitigate the damage being done in society, since we can't do away with it. So there I concur with you. Because if that was understandable from the beginning, many of these queries would not be there. Why do you need a culture committee? Why is it the culture committee oversighting this? When these laws were, frozen and repealed, you know how it is when you're doing legislation. Sometimes, and I know one of the questions normally is the assembly should pay for its own travel and the executive should pay for its own travel. But you know the reality. Many times you'll find they have no budget and you're the one who has the urgency to do the legislation. So you have to shoulder that cost as the executive side of the of the county government. So that's the broad context through which the activities they do and the committee that oversights them, why you'd find MCS traveling, what they go to see. And now you see all this travel, the reports from visits need to be attached as well. When you travel to South Africa or Arusha or wherever it is, the report that emanates from that visit need to be attached to the audit responses. I agree with you, Chair. So that the auditor will say, okay, this is what you guys were engaging in, and it's beneficial. Because we don't want to just waste money. We don't want to waste Nairobians' money in things that are not necessary. If you look at the amount of money we need to make meaningful interventions, you can do so much with even 1 million shillings to affect the lives of our people. So, Chair, on that one, I pledge that there will be better reporting. There shall be better understanding. I hope in this audit cycle it's the same auditors. Yeah, there's the same team. Then we can even at the the meetings explain further, and not just this fund, but everything else. I know Green Nairobi is soon going to be an issue because we've created a company, just how we've done Nairobi Water, but we've created one for cleaning the city and solid waste management because of the need to ring fence funds associated. So, Chair, that is something I'd be very happy to lead myself, not just leave it to the sector.
So, as you rightly said at the beginning, the sports fund. Yeah. The sports fund, many people imagine that the revenue that comes to sports fund goes into sports, purely sports. But then what the Uhuru administration did, they came up with the regulations. In the regulation, you find that they are funding things like hospitals, UHC. They are funding many other things which are not even affordable housing, I think. Yeah. But you see now for Nairobi, then you will need such regulations so that when you spend money, then you have a justification. Why you may have spent it on a good cause, but then since there is no specific regulation, it becomes an issue.
Several of the regulations that were gazetted on the 19th of December 2025.
Okay.
And in the regulation, there's the establishment of the fund, the object and the purpose, the sources, retention, utilization, etc. And I hope it was submitted.
You can table it.
Yes,
so because
I can table these regulations, Chair.
Yeah. Senator Tobiko?
Yeah, Chair, I didn't want us just to gloss over very serious issues that the auditor has raised. In knowing Kenyans today, Kenyans are very, very sensitive on expenditure. I'm imagining if the 82 million that was spent for foreign travel would be subjected to public participation on Nairobians. If Nairobians would accept, spending 82 million just for foreign travel, that would have quite a number of issues. And then, Chair, again, what would justify an inflated list of participants for domestic travels? What will justify an inflated list? Because I think it's one of the issues the auditor has raised.
Chair, on the first question of public participation, I was about to call you Excellency, guy. Chair, Your Excellency, Inshallah. You see, the whole budget for the county, including its entities, goes through public participation. Even supplementary, you do public participation. Before you appropriate, that's how the National Assembly does. We go around the 17 sub-counties, we say this is what this is for. In fact, you'll find very many interesting comments from them. One of them was to set up another area in the route aside, Kawangware, where we've now established a methadone center in Mutuini. So public participation is done. The issue of inflating the list, I'll let Lydia respond to. Or is it Rhoda? Rhoda, tell us. I know it is both executive and assembly, but how do you have a list of 60 that becomes 80?
Excellency, Honorable Chairman, where lists look inflated, especially where we have a joint workshop with the county assembly, would normally arise from the support staff that accompany the senior officials. So the county assembly will forward a list of say 50 persons from the assembly, but the people who end up attending the workshop we would have aides and the personal assistants who have to be paid as well. So in that case, it would appear like we have inflated the list.
Now, this county assembly thing, I think that's already also a problem. Why would you spend money on the county assembly? The assembly should finance it. Because then how do they oversight the fund?
You know, next year you'll be a governor. I hope I can record it. Yeah, well, ideally, yes, I agree with you. Ideally, it shouldn't be that. And I remember that discussion started when I was in this house where we said, the ministries want to take us and pay our DM, yet it is for us to consider the issues. It's not neat. But sometimes when you have something pressing that you need to pass, and they say, we can't come because we don't have budget, you have to be pragmatic. Because the person who needs that meeting is the executive. You're the one who needs that meeting to pass either a draft legislative proposal or for them to be able to consider your budget. Now, when they say, the clerk of the assembly says, I have no money, and you're the one who needs them, you just have to facilitate. Chair. I think that's something we need to review. Because anyway, the law says the county government is both the assembly and the executive. It's something that we need to review. Because it's very easy for them to say, you see the ceilings we set here in Senate limits what they can do on travel. And so they put most of their money on other recurrent expenditure and say that if anything is travel that is for the benefit of the executive, a request of theirs, whether it is budget or to pass a law or to pass regulations, let them pay for us. Otherwise, we will not do it. Now, if they don't do it, you get stuck. So you can be right on the letter of the law, but in terms of the pragmatic, just saying, okay, we want to get this done, unless you fund them, it becomes so difficult. So that's something I would urge the Senate to review, just because of the practicality of it. And I've seen it even here. Sometimes the national government organizes. I saw it during affordable housing, during something that is urgent to them. You'll find them organizing a retreat for members. It looks like a joint retreat, but you go to the audit, because I've looked at it, it's actually funded from the national executive. So I'm not saying that two wrongs make a right, or that since the national parliament and the executive are doing the wrong thing, but I'm just explaining when the case where it would be urgent. If I didn't take them, imagine my accounts are frozen. There is no, the regulations are not there, or the law is not there. There are people whose salaries cannot be paid, who are on my phone. Imagine we have committees in every sub-county, these liquor committees. And normally we get the people in the, influential people within the community to be part of that board. Now they are all on your phone, that I have not gotten my allowance, what not. You'll just find a way to make it happen. But I hear you, Chair. I'm just being honest with the considerations we make as governors.
Mbugua.
Governor, the issues in this fund may look to be so many, but I think if the accounts department was organized, these issues would be very few. Issues which are being raised, why should the interest not be surrendered? Maybe things like if the per diems, they are being paid irregularly. But the budget for foreign and domestic being mixed up. I don't know how the accounts department of this fund operates. Is it one person or is a department? Because that seems to be the biggest weakness in this fund.
They have come from far to reach how they are now. I wish you saw the first audit. It was terrible. I'm not saying this is good, but we have revamped we've added the capacity. And I think subsequent to this, I want to look at it and make a few changes and really boost, because it's really important. I even see the potential of this fund going up to 1 billion shillings. I see the potential. If you ask the Balita, the Bar and Alcoholics, whatever organization, Balita and Perak, they are very excited, even if you Google, when we now introduce what we call the liquor pay. Is it called liquor pay?
Yes.
Now this liquor pay now has digitized all applications for liquor licenses and the payments of liquor licenses, and already I've seen an increase in terms of the amount of money they're collecting in a month. Now, if you have a fund that is going to grow from around 250 million to 1 billion, you need to have very serious accountability structures within the fund. Chairman, an example I'm being given, in February alone, we've done 1,000 licenses, which has never happened before, just in one month, because they're finding it more efficient. Before, what was happening there, somebody applies physically, and then a committee has to come. The committee has the chief, I don't know, the DCC, the police, board members from that sub-county. They come to your establishment, ask you questions. Sometimes when you find people, it creates an avenue for soliciting of bribes or, rent seeking. But even from the comfort of your establishment, wherever it is, you describe your business, you make the application, you pay, and then subsequent to that, an inspection is done. But the money has come in already. So that is why you've seen 1,000. We'd never have done 1,000. It would be impossible. So that's the direction we're going, and that's why I'm saying I have to strengthen your accounting department, your procurement, the entire finance structure at the board. And so I'll work with the CEC and my CEC finance and the chief officers of finance and this sector to give them a structure. Actually, we should look at it almost like a company.
You have something to add on that?
I think I will just reiterate whatever the Honorable Governor has said. Because much of it is in terms of the documentation. Actually, it's in documentation because I followed up with a team that was on the ground, and they did experience some challenges. So by the time that those issues reached here, I think they are. So I think that collaborative information also try to see how do you strengthen to avoid challenges in the future audits.
Chair, the chief officer is new in that sector. She came in October, and already we had a discussion on some of the improvements that she was to do. And I'd ask her just to brief you on what she's been able to do within the finance and administration.
Thank you, Excellency. In December, we overhauled the accounting and procurement departments. So we have a team of accountants that have been deployed afresh, who have enhanced capacity in terms of handling an assignment of the magnitude of liquor fund. We also have more experienced procurement officers, and we are also in the process of deploying as a section within the accounting unit, section for validation and examination, so that payments, before the payments are made, then you have a validation process as required by the IFMIS, steps of checker and maker, so that you're able to make sure that by the time a voucher has been signed, the payment file has all the requisite documentation, and we do not foresee a repeat of some of the challenges that the auditor has highlighted in this financial year. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Any other issues on that category of issues? So, honorable members, I think we will expect that the county will improve on the issues of expenditure and clarify what every expenditure entails, so that we don't end up spending on issues which are not covered within the law or within the fund regulation. The next set of issues, honorable members, is revenue-related issues. And there was a query on under collection of projected on-source revenue. There was also a query on spending collected revenue at source, and similarly, unsupported revenue balances, and also license revenue not receipted or reconciled. So, auditor, maybe you can make a comment on that, and then governor will also respond.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. On the issue of the correction of revenue on projected source, I think the table on the report is very clear that whatever you corrected actually was 1.5 million. However, had you projected based on expected revenue based on the reports that you had, that is paragraph number 4.1 of the Auditor General's report, you'd have collected 35 millions extra. Number two is that the issue of spending at source. This is an issue which was also for internal control purpose. That the examination of the revenue collection account held at the local bank reviewed that only 44,120,555 was deposited in the county revenue fund on 19th June 2025. The balance of the collection, that is 294,150,161, was spread at source when you compare with the county revenue fund. So that's one I think you can be able to explain, because they are consulted.
I feel She's explaining so how to explain. Why didn't you just explain directly? Because she understands it.
Thank you, Excellency. On the uncollected revenue, Chair and members, we do acknowledge this audit issue, and the problem is the clarification of the word product. The manufacturers will insist that product is, let's say, spirits. So all the spirits that they're selling, or all the wines, or all the, say, if it's ABL, all the beers, they say that that is one product. So they'll give you 1 million for Pilsner, task, all of them. So the measure we have taken is to clarify the word product in the county finance bill, so that we are able to expound that, for the avoidance of doubt, the word product means brand name. So then it means we are able to collect on the specific product that they are selling in the marketplace. And by doing that, then we are able to collect the correct amount from the manufacturers. Also to add that we are not the only ones in the space of regulating manufacturers and now and also importers. So NACADA, there's also licenses that they pay to NACADA, and for some of them, they say if we've paid NACADA, why do we need to pay the county government? So some of them also, it's just a bit of that outreach to explain to them that, you get your NACADA license, but you still need to pay the county for depot, for distribution, for marketing, and those kinds of things. So we are on top of this one.
Chair, further to that, I believe that NACADA is unconstitutional. It was set up before the delineation of functions in the 4th schedule, where alcoholic licensing and control is fully devolved. And when it comes to international issues relating to that, it becomes a customs and tax issue. That's something I would pray that the Senate reviews. Because also we're making it difficult for people to do business. When you have to register with the county and then go to the national level, when your officers, you find an NACADA officer has gone to an establishment and then you have a county officer, it's really untidy and doesn't help the ease of doing business for this, investors, if you can call them that, or people in this entertainment space, or the brewers, So we should say that should NACADA continue being in operation, and if they are, their work really is to be a campaign. In fact, their name is National Campaign Against Drug Abuse. They should just do advertisements on TV and talk generally about the effects. Remember, it was after the Mutudo interventions at that time, including the law. But for now, in terms of licensing, alcoholic control, 4th schedule, the Constitution, it is a county function. So this created a lot of confusion in executing that function.
On that one, I agree with you. I've always had an issue with NACADA to that extent. But auditor, maybe you need to clarify to the committee, how did you arrive at the figure of 35 million?
There was a report on the same. It's only that we did not carry, but we can provide to the committee how we arrived at it. I tried to look at it in the morning, but there is the way we arrived at it. And again, also, if you interrelate it with the 4.3 unsupported revenue, also maybe for the clarity, the board engaged a consultant who gave the various outright and projected revenue of 745 million, out of which only the 38 with a shortfall. Maybe you can also be able to explain the challenges for the future and what is the status now, and also the issue to do with the spending at source. Ideally, and as per the law, the correction should be supposed to go through the county revenue fund, out of which it is remitted to the board, which only 44 million went through the county revenue funds. Maybe what is the issue to do, you are looking at it also beside the accounting for it, and also the issue to do with the internal control processes.
So money from funds created under law like this do not go through CRF. And I will get the specific PFM provision, but they don't go through the county revenue fund, because the reason we created a fund is to ring fence these amounts. If you take it through CRF, that money will be used to pay salaries or garbage collection. It is yet you have created a fund for a specific purpose, and that's why you ring fence it with its own account. So I mean, the discussion can be where the account is, But the reason you create a fund for a special purpose is to ring fence the amounts or they're not. You remember the two waters I showed you earlier, so that you don't mix them within your collection of parking, land rates, then you have the alcohol, yet you've created a special entity. And these are recurring questions. So I think it's something that you need to determine because it recurs, and not just for Nairobi. To determine, you see, for hospitals, the different law they created called FIF is separate because you cannot create hospitals like a fund. You know, the hospitals are actually just institutions within the county. But you created FIF, Facility Improvement Fund, that then is used to justify spending at source. Now, when you create through PFM a fund, or through your legislation, a fund for a special purpose, whether it is emergency fund. In fact, the reason why you have an emergency fund, for instance, is so that you don't have to go through the rigors of CRF and the COB when you need to quickly spend money when a disaster has happened or an emergency has arisen. Same as this alcoholic drinks control. Chair, on the other issue, I think I'm very excited that on 4.1, because these are not query, and we have been very strong on what happens after issues are raised in audit. We'll want to write to the Auditor General so that based on the response, we go to these brewers and make sure that they pay product as should be. Because if I've collected 1.5 million where it should be 35, and this is a very small example, it should be very, if I have the letter from the Auditor General, I will personally go to this. I will not even send road. Because it is true. If you look at even how KRA is taxing these people, they're looking at your alcohol. You remember the long case of your colleague, Senator of Nakuru? The case has been in this pre-mixed drink, how much percent of it is water and how much percent of it is alcohol. They have gone to that detail, leave alone product, the mix within the product. So you really have helped me. If I can get that response from your office, clearly stipulating that based on that there was an audit query on this issue, and the direction is that they should pay per band, you know, which is actually the product. The product is not, you know, you cannot say the product of Toyota is cars. No, there's Toyota Corolla, there's Land Cruiser, there is, you know. So EBL, I'm sure, though, you know, these days I don't engage so much in that thing, but I hear there are things like Safari, no, not Safari, what is it called? Not county. That county is also misused. Because we will go to the bar and say, Nipati Sakaja Mwati. Different Pilsner, Tusker, Safari Ken, Kenya Ken, etc. need to be charged on their own because they're different. Yeah. So we really rely on that, and I want to direct my CC to do that correspondence for us to the Office of the Auditor General, so that based on the power of that letter, we can actually enhance this revenue. Because, and this, I mean, look, if I tell you which company it is that has paid 1.5 million, that is money they make in a minute in Nairobi. You can count how much alcohol is sold in this city. And then you want to tell me that entity for a devolved function is paying only 1 million. Yeah. The same company using 45% of our water. Though when I asked them, they said, you know, that water is still going back to the Nairobians. Having been processed. So, Chair, please help us with that.
Senator Buko?
You know, Chair, the officers,
I think I've just remembered something before I forget. Lucy, I want you to clarify the issue of the governors raised, that revenues in the fund, they don't necessarily need to go through CRF. What does the PFM say?
Yes, Chair.
Just a moment, you come back.
Yeah, Chair, the starting point is Article 207 actually of the Constitution, which establishes under subclause 1 that there are established revenue funds for each of the county governments, into which shall be paid all money raised or received by or on behalf of the county government, except money reasonably excluded by an act of parliament. Then subsection 4 says an act of parliament may make further provision for withdrawal of funds from a county revenue fund and provide for the establishment of other funds. So these are other funds separate from the CRF by counties and the management of those funds. And then this takes us to section 116 of the PFM, where a county executive committee member for finance may establish other public funds with the approval of the CEC, the County Executive Committee, and the County Assembly. For every county public fund established, the CEC for finance shall designate a person responsible for administering the fund. Those are just provisions relating to management of the fund. Chair, the administrator of a county fund shall ensure that earnings of or accruals to a county public fund are retained in the fund unless the county executive committee member for finance directs otherwise. I believe, I haven't seen those regulations, but I believe the regulations have been made pursuant to section 116 that empowers the county executive committee member for finance to establish other public funds. So this is what article 207(4) of the constitution was referring to. So we move from the general to the specific. The general rule is that all monies received by or on behalf of a county government are paid into the CRF unless reasonably excluded by an act of parliament. With respect to revenue funds, then 207(4) provides that an act of parliament will give further effect to the establishment of other public funds, which is under section 116, Chair.
On the query raised by the auditor. The auditor is raising a query around there that 294 million was spent at source. It should have been collected at source. It should have gone through the CRF.
No, Chair, because there's a fund that exists for this purpose.
There's a fund. Chair, in fact, the opening statement is in exercise of the powers conferred by section 116 of the Public Finance Management Act. The county executive member of finance makes the following, that's how we create the fund. And Chair, on this one, we need to be clear. You need to give a position because it keeps recurring. It is not spending at source. In fact, Lucy has put it so well, so clearly from the constitution, saying all revenue shall be paid into the county revenue fund unless a fund is created, another fund or other funds are provided for in the law. The law that they're talking about is the PFM. The PFM then tells you how to create a fund. What is the reason of having a fund if everything is in CRF? Because CRF is actually a fund. It's County Revenue Fund. It's a fund. I don't know if there's another position from the Auditor General that was
Mark, comment on that.
Before maybe through the chair.
Yes.
I think also we need to look at the consistency so that you may justify or other justification why transfer 44 million. At the same time, you don't transfer the other. And also there are various cases where you are transferring.
That was when the accounts were frozen by the High Court. When the account was frozen by the High Court, the money would not have been sent to my M-Pesa. I had to put it now into that's on a light touch. That is the only time when we sent it to the CRF, and it's something we had to approve at cabinet. Yeah, so at the county executive committee, we approved that in the intervening period, before we resolve and lift that ban, and people are still people are still paying their licenses, send the money to the CRF. But generally, the money should be going to the fund created under PFM, which is the Alcoholic Drinks and Licensing Fund.
Yeah, so auditor, okay.
No, Chair, I just wanted to mention that beyond that decision that had been made, if you look at the decree, the judgment decree, the court had directed actually that when they nullified section 43 and before the stay order, they had said in the interim, payments be made into the CRF.
Through the chair, maybe you can help us interpret. Sometimes the auditor may not always be right. I want to read the criteria that we had used so that you can help us further. Article 207 of the Constitution, 2010, Section 109, 2 of the Public Finance Management Act, require that all revenue raised or received by or on behalf of the county government shall be paid into the county revenue fund. I think that's
The end. You have stopped halfway.
one summary.
This law
Says because it's also educative on us, so that if we are short of it's resolved. Yeah.
Not just for Nairobi. I think for all counties that have established a fund.
Yeah, and I think is important. I don't know whether the county attorney sits in the exit meetings, because these are issues that can be raised then. So that when you raise such a query, then the legal mind can help you to process it so that it doesn't become a query. I think maybe, Governor, you should consider putting your county attorney in the exit meetings.
Yeah, we normally have the sector councils for the different sectors, but I agree at the apex, the county attorney should be there. But Chair, maybe your team, 3 o'clock, can provide the entire reading of Article 207 of the Constitution, because we really need a decision on this issue of funds. Because beyond the Auditor General, the control of budget then comes hard, because the control of budget wants you to apply for everything through our office or through that office. Yeah, let me not personalize it. Yet the reason you create a fund is for that to be managed differently. Of course, all of it must be audited by the Auditor General. Counties or the national government don't create funds to bypass accountability, but by the very nature of ring fencing, expenditure, and income. In fact, the issue that used to be there from the COB on funds was that fund cannot just be one way, that there's only expenditure. But a fund must also show how money is coming into it, which is now for us, it's how we are getting the licenses, etc., and then spent from it. But there are certain funds where coming into it is only through your appropriation, like the emergency fund. The emergency fund is not, unless we ring fence money paid for maybe fire certificates. But the emergency fund is really just what you appropriate, and then things coming out of it, Chair. So maybe maybe Radoli can.
Control of budget is here. What's your comment?
Thank you, Chair. What I would wish to say is that once the money goes into CRF, it requires the approval of the control of budget. So that is under Article 207, that is county revenue funds. And in this particular case, like Nairobi Alcoholic Fund, do not actually even report they don't make their returns in our office, and we don't get reports from Alcoholic Fund. So it is important for that clarification to come if for some of these special funds, if actually what they generate as income should go to CRF. Because once it hits into CRF, it requires the approval of control of budget for any withdrawal.
So that means the 44 million that was sent to the CRF,
Yeah.
that is the one you will deal with.
Yeah, if it hit the CRF for it to come out, they must seek for approval.
Yeah, but you see, that 44 possibly came out through payment of salaries or something else, and they're asking me to return their 44, and I'm told them, you may Peter on our account. But the clarification we require, and it is true, any amount of money you expend or pay from the county revenue fund must be approved by the control of budget. And the control of budget looks at whether you are budgeted for it, whether it is proper. Not even how you use it. How you use it is the Auditor General. But whether you can use it is the control of budget. Except for money reasonably excluded by an Act of Parliament. Now, the Act of Parliament that excludes monies from funds is the PFM section 116 that then excludes from CRF monies that have gone into a fund created by law. Chair. It says an act of parliament may A, make further provision for withdrawal of funds from a county revenue fund, which already is there, and B, provide for the establishment of other funds by counties and the management of those funds. 116 is so clear on how the fund is created. You pass it in cabinet at a CEC meeting, you take it to the county assembly, you designate an administrator, how you report, all of that is provided for in Article 116. So each year to talking about we have a way forward. This.
I think, if I comment on this one, I think the governor, honorable governor, is clear. I think the auditors, most of the time, again, also we are not on the ground. I think sometimes the auditor who we send on the ground may not have an understanding.
Yes.
Which we again pick because we are dealing with so many institutions.
Yes, that is true.
Sometimes an issue may lapse.
So do you agree with me?
Yes, I do. So that one I agree.
Thank you so much.
Chair, the officers who have accompanied the governor, if you have a look at them, they are very comfortable because of the way their boss defends them. But let me see how he's going to defend him on this one. Let's go to 7.3. And I want to see how you will defend your people on that. Yeah, 7.3.
Where is 7.3?
What the auditor has queried on the response by the management.
There's no 7.3.
It is there on the unthreaded impressed.
On the auditors.
Huh? Page 12.
I think that's coming in the next category. Okay. We were dealing with these queries as per category.
Okay.
Now that is coming under expenditure.
Okay, then let me go to the other one. This one, Governor, on the travel, it caught me because these are exhibition in Japan in Osaka. I can confirm I was there.
Sorry, which one is it?
60. The trip to Osaka, Japan. I can confirm I was there. I saw these 6 people. But Governor, that group which went there, they had nothing to do with alcohol and they were not staff of this establishment.
I don't even know who went. Which is that?
You were there?
Yes. She was one of them. Please explain.
Because most of them came from my county and we were them and they had nothing to do with this thing, Governor.
Who are those in Nairobi?
No.
But
No, can you explain the trip and what it was about? Sorry, anything else?
yes. So thank you, Chair and Your Excellency. It is true we were invited through the Kiproba, the counties. It was a trade-related event, exhibition, which was running between June and October. And there was a Kenya Day. There was a Kenya Week, not just a Kenya Day. And we did participate in that event. So it was both the trade and the liquor falls under trade. So it was my team that went.
So it wasn't just liquor?
No, it wasn't just liquor. It was trade.
So my query is this, the trip, because the deputy governor comes from my county and the group which was there, I wonder what that group had to do with the alcoholic drinks.
Thank you, Excellency.
Maybe consumption.
Chair, Your Excellency, sir, I want to inform the honorable members that under executive order number 1 of 2022.
You don't even need that. Because I know she wants to say the deputy governor what he was assigned. The deputy governor is like the governor. You can represent the governor in anything. In as much as specifically he handles this sector and as well as the Barrows sector, but really I don't micromanage who travels. If a governor starts looking at every list of travel, you end up doing nothing. So I give power to my CECs and chief officers to, when they get an invite, to take people relevant to that discussion or whatever is happening, and not expect that to have been. So even as we speak, apart from the 2 people mentioned, I don't know who else went for that trip. But just know people have hidden talents. You might see someone, you don't know how much they are involved in alcohol. Yeah, is there another question in that area, or do I answer the next one he asked?
Yeah, unless auditor, if you have an issue around revenue issues, but
There's a list of the travel. I don't even.
but we have more like exalted revenue issues. The main issue was a clarification on CRF.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think today's clarification is landmark for not just Nairobi, but everyone else on funds vis-a-vis CRF.
So I think we can look at expenditure issues, and on the expenditure issue, which are not travel related, because you remember travel, we looked at it. We will look at the issue of unsurrendered interest unaccounted for expenditure.
Thank you, Chair. Let me ask the Chief Officer to take that together with the...
Just allow the auditor to explain what it was all about.
$7.3, yeah? Unsurrendered interest. The expenditure includes catering services, accommodation, gifts, food and drinks of Kenya shillings 4,867,500, out of which 2,670,000 for issued interest was not supported by surrender documents to account for the funds.
So are you done?
Issue that one
unaccounted expenditure as well.
Included in the amount, that is 7.4 unaccounted for expenditure. Included in the amount is 10,914,511 relating to contracted professional services, out of which 3,989,994 was expended without adequate supporting documentation. In the circumstance, the accuracy, regularity, and completeness and the validity of the goods and services expended of Kenya shillings 60 million could not be confirmed. And on top of that,
I'd like you to look at the issue also, or misallocation of development budget to recurrent expenditure.
Misallocation is classification. Sorry. Thank you, Chair. Misallocation of development budget to recurrent expenditure. Examination of expenditure record revealed that Liquor Licensing Board charged recurrent items against the development budget. Payment amounting to Kenya shillings 15 million, but 1,700 shillings were incurred between November 24th and November 2024 and March 2025 under development vote for activities such as allowances, consultants, and retreat expenses are shown below. There is a table and showing the various dates. The first one is a allowance system development of 2 million, consultancy, cabinet, retreat, allowance of system development, all totaling to 15,030,700.
Okay.
No approval was provided for the reallocation from the recurrent to development budget. The misclassification of the recurrent expenditure under the development budget result in the budget distortion, as financial statement reflect inflated development spending while understating recurrent cost. In the circumstance, management is in breach of law, and as such, misapplication conceal the true cost of operation, which erode accountability and contravene with the Public Finance Management Act of Management Principle of Transparency and Prudence.
Okay, so Governor, you can respond to the three issues. And then after that, Honorable Member, we are going beyond 4:30. So after that, I think we'll adjourn.
Yeah, this last one I think has no justification. It is unacceptable. You cannot reallocate. Now, to hear the explanation. You cannot move recurrent items to development and have them, because recurrent, what recurrent means is expenditure that is used to keep the organization going, really. You know, development, there's some expenditures that recur or happen often but are still development in nature. It doesn't mean you've built a building, but on this, like consultancy and allowance system development, I don't know the justification for it, and maybe the chief officer can try. The other one also on the other one is which one? On
unsurrendered interest.
Yes, unsurrendered interest as well. I'll ask them to answer. And there's a third one.
Unaccounted for expenditure.
7.4.
7.4.
So kindly, Director.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Honorable Chairman, on the issue of interests, we would like to report that all interests are surrendered because that is a requirement of the law. However, we were not able to single out which specific interests were referred to in this case. In this, to us, this question was a bit ambiguous. We were not able to single out the specific interests that were in question in this case. If we would be clear on which specific ones they were, we would supply the documents. However, we supplied all the documents at the time of audits. On the question of unaccounted for expenditure in terms of professional services, we'd also like to confirm that all our services were contracted through the procurement process, and we have attached the procurement documents for professional services for review. The other issue on the issue of using a development budget for recurrent expenditure, in our response, we have indicated that during budgeting, all aspects of system development and establishment of rehabilitation facilities were included in the development budget. So we have noted this concern, and now we will make sure that we leave the recurrent expenditures. Even though they are for a project, we will have the expenditure for the expenditures which are recurrent in nature will be included in the recurrent budget and not in the development budget. When we were budgeting for this system development, the entire budget of 15 million was included, but it was classified under development budget.
Wait a minute. I think what is confusing is the word allowance. This system development, allowance and development is an IT system. That is development. This is a DKP or what? Oh no, Chair, that one is not recurrent. That's a development expenditure. That one would be development expenditure. Cabinet retreat allowance. Was it for that? I think the problem really, Chair, is the communication between this team and the Office of the Auditor General. Because when they explain it here, you can see the justification. But it should not have gotten to this level, because of definitely an IT system that then is left, it's not something you do every day. But if this was the liquor system being done, that actually is development expenditure. So just as I said earlier, I need to come in to solve that linkage between the two.
Let's hear from the auditor, the comment on the responses.
The comment which I want to give, maybe to the director, is that actually we don't change queries. In the management letter, if you see the heading, is the one which goes to also the draft. What happens is that when it is a big schedule, we put in appendix. Like now, this one, if you go to your management letter, you look at appendix number 4 of it. No, actually appendix number 9. You'll be able to get it in your management letter, which you have. It's only that now when it comes to the draft, we summarize. We summarize so that we don't contain even the appendices. But all that information, you have it. And because it was not provided during the response to the management letter, that's why it again found itself in the draft audit report, which was not supported. Again, it found itself in the certificate. So those facts are still there. If you now anything that is raised, go to the management letter, you get all the details.
I'll need a session with this team of mine next week.
Yeah, you need a session, but it clearly implies that they don't take the exit meeting seriously. Because if they took the meeting seriously, some of these issues here would not become queries, would be clarified at that point. Mark, you wanted to emphasize that point?
Yes, Chair. I think it's very important that the exit meeting, where we have a discussion and take minutes, it's after the exit meeting that we do the ML, and the ML is responded to in writing. So when you talk of the figure like the undecided interest, we are querying a figure of 2,670,000. There's a schedule to that, detailing and that failure to get that response is what has resulted in this coming. I think, as my colleague has indicated, at the exit meeting, you also have the ML and you also have the draft report. When you fail to respond in all those instances, then that ends up in the certificate that is before us today. Thank you, Chair.
Address the issue of interest, because it looks like the officer there has not given us a sufficient response. There is an amount of 2.6 million. No, I was just asking the auditors, how do we address the issue of interest? Because the officer has raised concern that the documents were provided.
I think what I can
and the breakdown of 2.6 is not very clear to her.
The chair, she has the information in there. If she goes back to the management letter which she has, she'll get those details there. The makeup is very clear. It's a schedule. The appendices say either in form of the schedule and also appendix.
Yeah, I think the best thing is that the auditors and the officers please sit down and resolve this matter. Because if the auditors are scheduled and the interest, so that you should be able to provide the information. And then auditor, you keep an eye on that. The issue of misallocation of development budget to recurrent expenditure, auditor, how do you want us to resolve this?
I would request maybe if either they can support, they can be able to support. Because from the way I heard the governor saying, those expenditure, because either there is an issue to do the policy, whether there was a policy, the follow-up policy on the way you reallocated, and also be able to provide the documentation whether these expenditure of recurring of development in nature.
Yeah.
out of it because there is nothing to, we have not verified, nothing to verify now, we cannot. So it's for them to provide the documentation.
So maybe this one can also be verified jointly between yourself and the officers. So members, any other issue?
Chair, I don't know, I had stepped out, but I'm seeing from the chairman's brief, issue number 7, irregular expenditure on Nairobi Festival. I don't know whether it was addressed.
That we had dealt with. We were categorizing issues. We put events, training, and travel together, and we were able to deal with them wholesome, and we gave directions. Yes, Senator Bugo.
Chair, this fund does very many things. And Governor, I was expecting to see the issue of the chapati machine here, but I'm told it's not here. So maybe next time when you come, I will see it somewhere.
So the machine is on the way. And the president gave me another 15 million yesterday to get a bigger one, actually. But that's 6,000 to 8,000 an hour.
So, auditor?
It's maybe paragraph number 1, Chair, because it has been a very recurring issue. Maybe when you go for
issues.
Yes. Maybe that's something, maybe you can give direction because it was
just tell us who is the accountant. Tell us who signed the financial statement. Errors and inaccuracies.
Who is the accountant?
Was Claire Kenya. It's back number 18231.
That's a very, I know her. She comes from my county. Very qualified. So can you take the?
Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know which is which. She is now in another institution within the county. But the professional advice that is required would be important for me to hear, because some of these things I'm seeing as errors, I don't think should be the case, and even just relating. So maybe if she had some challenges, she should be able to discuss first.
Yeah, the records at this park shows that she's active and in good standing. Yeah. So maybe you can tell us what happened.
Thank you, Chair. Through the Governor, we've been having this query on statement of changes in net assets. This thing is historical in nature because you'll find that when the fund started, they were not doing financial statements. So when the auditor requires us to reconcile the payments and the revenue that was done in 2015, it becomes a little bit of a challenge. We're still doing it and we'll continue doing it, but I think we need a way forward because it's historical. Getting the documents is also a challenge, bearing in mind that this thing is over 10 years when some of us were not even there. Thank you.
So, auditor, I think I have an idea about what he's talking about. When the governor was explaining that these reports were very bad, we used to have a disclaimer of opinion, and we could not progress. So, how do we resolve this problem? How do we reconcile this so that we resolve this issue completely? Mark?
Chair, I think the challenge we face here is these are public funds which needed to be accounted for. If there was wrongdoing then, I think we cannot gloss over it. So maybe the committee can make a decision on this, because I think the accountant has also confirmed that these documents cannot be traced. Therefore, then the committee can make a decision on what can be done, either to get the documents or to assign responsibility in line with, I think, the PFM in terms of public officers taking a responsibility even in their personal capacity for any wrongdoings. I think the legal can guide us on that. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, Chair, I'm glad you know it. This place was, I don't know what, 2015, 16. They were not keeping records. It was helter-skelter. Of course, it was a cash cow that time, for the then administration. That one I can say for sure. Because there's a reason why you create this entity that is collecting money from citizens but not accounting for it. So you see a disclaimer of opinion. In fact, the first 5 years of devolution in Nairobi, 2013 to 2015, not just this, even the audit for the executive, it was all disclaimer of opinion. It was just pure theft, So since they're public funds, and I agree, people must be held to account. The second 5 years of devolution, 2013 to 2022, it was adverse. Both the executive, I think this one now, it was still disclaimer. It's only now when I got in that we started having qualified because of just that personal attention and making them know that it is serious. You will answer for it yourself. So, Chair, even as you write this, you can write it off so it doesn't keep, because it will keep appearing. Because unless they create fake statements, which of course is even a bigger criminal offense, as professionals, and they'll have that culpability. I think we need to, as a committee, and you have the power yourself under the Audit Act, to clear this issue with a note, either to EACC or that it's taken up by whichever investigative agency, so that we also move forward, because if it keeps recurring, and of course government exists in perpetuity. I'm not saying that I'm blaming, of course I'm blaming the first administration and the second one, but we know this thing can't keep hanging over our heads, Chair. It should not.
Yeah.
If there's one place I've made changes, is in this alcoholic, this is what we call liquor board. We normally call it liquor board. The first guy I came with here, you remember, who I could not even defend, or even, I was even getting upset. And then now we've had, subsequent improvements, adding the staff. For them to have a qualified opinion, I was shocked to see that they've moved from there to here. And when I look at the substance of these issues, I think this might be the first place where we can actually move to unqualified as the Nairobi County. Because the issues that to solve is not difficult. But we will need your grace, because for as long as this matter keeps hanging, we will never be unqualified. And it's unfair for it to prevent us from getting an unqualified opinion, yet it's something that we are not part of, cannot be resolved. We cannot create fake documents. We must acknowledge it. So if we agree that you refer this matter elsewhere, but then now move it out of our audit, and then the recurrent issue that you have solved today, which is historic on the funds, I think will be good.
I think what you can do is that members, since we will have a session on report writing, where we are going to look at this matter deeply, I think we can make a decision on how we can treat the earlier reports that, of course, is affecting the current reports. And I want to acknowledge that there was, those of us who have been in this committee longer, Mida, you have been there. We appreciate the fact that this financial reporting for this fund has been chaotic. In fact, members, if you don't know, we are here this late working harder because of a court case emanating from here. People went to court to say, nullify the report of the county assembly and say that the report should have been done as per Article 229 Constitution, which requires within 3 months after publication, houses of parliament must have examined this report. So now we are struggling to beat that deadline of 31st March. So I think I would leave it to the members when we discuss the report, we look at it deeply and see what recommendation we can give.
Yes, senators, kindly consider our situation with respect to this, and you can give us, can acknowledge the improvement we've made, and just so that we move forward as a county.
Senator Amida.
Is there a rehabilitation center established by this fund?
Yes.
There
There's
is.
one in Makadara Viwandani ward. It's called Sinai Rehabilitation Center. This fund actually built the building, stocked it, equipped it, but now the medical personnel come from my other sector of health, wellness, and nutrition. It is actually residential. There's do you call it boarding or admission? Yeah, that is where it's going to. But now it partners with other hospitals within the primary care network. And the personnel are coming from the health sector, where Dr. Nyalita, who is the CC now, was the first CC of health. She's a medical doctor. We're now setting up methadone centers. We've completed one in Mutuini, not done by this fund, but this fund will support it, because we need to keep giving the Mutuini. Done by this fund.
So that's why, submitting these funds, seriously, it's not a privilege, but then it is a must.
Yes.
That we must, get the.
That's what we want. It's helping.
And have, of course, accountability. The accountability it's a serious matter.
And that's why we're here, Chen.
Okay. So, honorable members, congratulations for working for 8 hours
the whole day
in one room. And Governor, thank you for your patience. The auditors and everyone else, we must thank you. I think the only thing we are remaining with is the hospitals, which we said we will make a decision. Yeah. So maybe Governor, you can give your final comments.
Chair,
we adjourn.
Chair, first of all, I really want to thank you for your leadership and the members of this committee. Chair, audit, in my opinion, and which I think is really what it is supposed to strengthen institutions and to strengthen systems, because we are all stewards of Kenyans' hard-earned money and taxes. Chair, if you look at the current issues that have been there between the Council of Governors and the Senate, I think one just needs to look at this committee, because Chair, we've dwelt on issues. We have gone step by step. We have addressed things in a very objective way, without personalizing. And today, we are better off, and the country is better off, if you look at the things we've solved. And I think that's the attitude we all need to have in all committees. That coming to Senate, which I always say I've been here longer in the Senate than I've been as a governor, should not be seen as you're going for a fight, or that, and senators should not see the witnesses on this side as suspects that you're coming to interrogate and you want to, this has been a very cordial meeting. We've resolved some things that have been long-standing. So, Chair, I really want to thank you for your leadership. I think that should take a cue from you. I hope that issue is resolved, because as a governor, being accountable to my people is very important. And I think for every governor, it should be. Create the atmosphere for us to do it well. When I came in, I had to cover audits from now 2014, because the first governor came once and fought with the senator and didn't come again. The second governor, who was the senator, then came in and fought with the senator, or really tried to create a sideshow with me, that I was a senator, and use us as an excuse not to come again. But Chair, I've been able to cover all their audits, both in this committee for the special institutions, for the executive, that we are now up to date, such that today we're discussing audits of my time. So that has only been done courtesy of the leadership of Senator Kajwang, whom I think, fortunately for me, I don't know about the rest, maybe because we went to the same school, we relate very well. I want to thank the COB, also the Water General, for being very honest. You see, we're all human beings. Where we've made an error, I've said, yeah, this one is not right. Let's solve this. Let's be better. And they've also been very open-minded. Sometimes you find you've come and everyone is rigid. That no, this is our position. We must stick to it. It doesn't help. It creates more heat than light. So I really want to thank the Office of the Control of Budget, the Auditor General, ESCC, for being part of this process. And of course, finally, your very able secretariat. Your clerk and Raboli, my favorite, who I still try to coach to come to Nairobi County Government. You have seen how much she illuminates what provisions of the law we have and how they can help us. I think your committee is on the way up. And finally, my team, thank you for mainly watching me. Well, God bless you.
Thank you very much, Governor, for accepting to appear before us. I think we'll always get excited when you appear before us because we are all your people in this city and we want to get better services. So I don't have any more energy.
Chair, you need to let Senator Nairobi delegate say something on behalf of Nairobi.
Nairobi. You want to say something? Okay, proceed.
Nairobi, Kanairo, please. Yes, Apple. No, me, I just want also to appreciate. But the government leo umekula humble pie. Leo uko sawa.
Language is that. It's not punishmental.
No, I just want to appreciate also. At least Nairobi atuko vibaya. We are doing well. Seriously, we are doing well. Looking at what we had today, Chair, and I think the progress is, immensely. You're up to the task and the game.
Thank you.
So I want to appreciate for you to come and your team on behalf, of course, of Nairobi. I'm proud of you, Asante.
Asante, Asante.
Okay. Governor, thank you very much. I think I will not go beyond that. I'm so exhausted. We just adjourn until Monday at the appointed time. The clerk will communicate.
Thank you so much, Chairman.